Item 8.
Item 8 is the second reading of an ordinance.
Don't need to read it yet. I have 2 speakers on the item. Jashin Rocha. Apologize if I said that wrong. And then Jeff Berthwaite.
Sorry for my chicken scratch. Mr. Chair, Supervisors, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Justin Rauza. I'm with the Alameda County Public Health Commission and currently serve as chair. We had a subcommittee, a health committee hearing yesterday to provide an update, and we heard of the e-cigarette ordinance currently being reviewed. We were asked to bring some data from the work that our youth subcommittee has done over the past year, and just wanted to highlight some things regarding a brief that we had shared by email. Findings from the 2014 National Youth Tobacco Survey show that current e-cigarette use on at least one day in the past 30 days among high school students increased from 4.5% in 2013 to 13.4% in 2014, rising from approximately 660,000 to 2 million students. Despite a California ban on sales to minors under 18, many youth are still able to access e-cigarettes due to lack of enforcement. The California Healthy Kids Survey from 2009 to 2011 reports that 13% of 7th graders, 32% of 9th graders, 45% of 11th graders responded that it was very easy for them to obtain tobacco products in Alameda County. And from some of our youth members who are now in college, thankfully, they had some stories, and I'll just read them to you quickly. Quote, when I was in high school, and this is from a student in Hayward, when I was in high school, it seemed like half of my graduating class had tried and continued to smoke e-cigs. They are not concerned about the price and are unaware about the health effects. They think it's just vapor. There are a lot of stores near my school who sell it, and my school did not really pay attention to enforcing e-cigarettes. People would pay more attention to e-cigarettes if it had the same regulations as cigarettes. Then people would ask why and think about what is in it. Second story is from Alameda House, a student from Alameda High. And she said, are you talking about the vapor-looking things? Yeah, I know a whole lot of people who do that. People don't really call it e-cigarette. I know it as a vape pen. About 60% of my friends use a vape pen. People seem more carefree about smoking it because it's advertised to be a better alternative to smoking a cigarette. People are not concerned about the cost, and there are a lot of stores near my school that sell it. In order to regulate vape pens, they need to be under the same restrictions of regular cigarettes. There should be more advertisements about the harmful effects of e-cigarettes. So thank you for your time. Just wanted to share some of that youth feedback, given that they're not able to come here in person today.
Supervisor Miley.
Yeah, a couple things. You mentioned the statistics earlier, the California statistics. Do you have statistics for the unincorporated community?
Not in my hand, but I can ask our chair to see if she
I think somebody spoke about that at our past meeting on this ordinance. Because, you know, the tobacco retail license ordinance just deals with unincorporated Alameda County. So the statistics need to focus on unincorporated Alameda County. And I know I've talked with Sergeant Schuler, who works for the Sheriff's Department, about our enforcement efforts, and our enforcement efforts are better than the state. So people keep bringing that number up, and it's misleading because we actually are better than the state with our enforcement of tobacco-related products. So this ordinance is a solution in search of a problem. We don't have that problem. Secondly, did you talk to any students from Hayward Unified School District, San Lorenzo Unified School District, or Castro Valley Unified School District?
The first story was from a student in Hayward Unified. I did not speak to them personally. It was the chair of our youth subcommittee.
Because Alameda Unified School District, as far as I'm concerned, it's a great school district, but it doesn't affect the unincorporated area. I'm looking for people who live in the unincorporated community to give me feedback. And the student you spoke with, I'd like to know, you don't have to answer it, but I'd be curious whether or not she lives in unincorporated Alameda County, or her family, or if they live outside of unincorporated Alameda County. Because once again, this ordinance affects the unincorporated communities of Alameda County, not the entire county. So
I'm happy to follow up with my colleague and follow up with your staff.
I would ask the Public Health Commission, when you come to speak, make sure you're zeroing in on the area that's going to be impacted by the regulation we're passing. Okay, thank you.
Jeff Braithwaite. And then Robert Swanson.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Jeff Braithwaite. I am the co-owner of Tasty Vapor. That's one of the largest and oldest nicotine liquid manufacturers in Alameda County. Actually, it's one of the oldest manufacturers of e-liquid in the United States. We've been at this since 2009. I am also here on behalf of SFATA, the Smoke-Free Alternative Trade Association, where I serve to do fundraising efforts in California for the California chapters. A couple of weeks ago, I was rather astounded at the fact that I came here. I do a lot of lobbying within California and outside of California. I just got done lobbying 2 days on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And we deal with a lot of ordinances, and one of the things that surprised me the most is that California, or actually Alameda County, opted to regulate e-cigs outside of the scope of tobacco products, which in my experience is wholly unique. In talking with my constituents in SFATA, been told on behalf of the Board of Supervisors at SFATA that they are more than happy to step in and help foster the underwriting of this ordinance if you feel so inclined. Also, I wanted to extend hopefully a walkthrough with Supervisor Nate Miley to tour my facility, get an idea of what we do, how we do it, and what we don't do. Because at this juncture, there is as much information as there is misinformation about this industry. So I'm hoping some people in Alameda County will take the time to get to know me, get to know my product, and get an idea of what this is, because Alameda County really is doing something unique in this industry that could travel outside of Alameda County and outside of California itself. This could very well serve as a template for other ordinances within California. So, thank you.
Thank you. Bob Swanson.
The issue was brought up about children, and that's one of the things that really opened my eyes on these e-cigarettes and vaporizers, and that is Ellen Corbett wanted to put some legislation through in Sacramento to prevent children from buying e-cigarettes, cigarettes, and tobacco products in vending machines. I thought, man, that's a great ordinance, and I think anybody up here probably would vote for it. You don't want kids to buy cigarettes, e-cigarettes, in vending machines. And it didn't pass. It couldn't get support. And who spoke out against it? The Lung Association, Heart, Cancer, all the healthcare organizations. I couldn't understand it. And then I really began looking into this issue. And it comes down to, I called Senator Leonard's office, and they explained to me, SB 140 that they were pushing through had nothing to do with raising taxes. I said, well, it's a precursor to it. She goes, oh, no, it won't raise taxes. In order to raise the taxes, it would have to be put on a ballot initiative. And the reason it has to be put on a ballot initiative is because of Prop 99 of 1988, a tobacco product in the state of California for tax purposes, it has to be made of 50% tobacco or more. And so I thought, why wouldn't they support protecting the children? Well, they're going to be using that in this initiative. If they had protected children back then, they couldn't use it to pass this initiative. That's my theory. That's what I think has been going on. Because why wouldn't they want to protect the children? It's not a tobacco product. We just need to remove it from this. We have a wonderful opportunity to create our own ordinance. We need to define vaporizers and e-cigarettes and the difference between a personal vaporizer and an e-cigarette. And there's multiple types. There's some that have nicotine. Many don't. And nicotine, again, is not a tobacco product. It's a chemical. And so that's all I have to say, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Supervisor Valier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to, and this is a very important issue, I would ask that the board consider moving this item to the fall after the September 22nd, sometime maybe in October, to continue this discussion and continue this item.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
If that's a motion, I'll second that. The reason I'm seconding it, once again, I mean, I respect the position that others have on this matter. about having to have a tobacco retail license ordinance, and that's the issue that's before us today. I respect that, but I don't feel it's necessary, because once again, I feel we're trying to impose a solution on a problem that doesn't exist in the unincorporated community. And then the problem with the ordinance itself is I just don't think, once again, public health does a lot of good work, but I don't think public health is a regulatory body. Environmental health is regulatory. But public health is not a regulatory body. They've never regulated anything. It's not their role to regulate. It's their role to advocate, provide grants, to provide education, et cetera. They are not a regulatory body. This ordinance would establish them as a regulatory body, and that's not their function. Secondly, I think the fee that's going to be imposed on the retailers who sell these products in the unincorporated area is not fair. Thirdly, I don't think e-cigarettes should be classified as a tobacco product, and we already dealt with that when that ordinance, the use ordinance, came before us a few weeks ago. That was rejected, and we're going to craft an ordinance that regulates e-cigarettes on their own merit. But in this case, we're still including e-cigarettes as a tobacco product in this ordinance, and would be subjecting them to this fee. I don't think that's appropriate. And I think those are some of the reasons I just think I wouldn't even support this regulation going forward. But I second the motion to table it until after September, or until September in the fall, just to give more time to look at this matter and folks to get further educated around it.
All right, so I'm willing to move forward with doing what the motion is. However, I want to be clear, though, that I do support 100% enforcement. So by the time fall rolls around, I want a clear and concise idea of how, and I do agree with you that the Sheriff's Department is doing that work already, and if we need to prop them up a little bit more, then they can, if there's a way that they can continue to do that work more often or whatever, then I'm willing to look at that. If we need to, you talked about maybe giving them an additional money or something to do more enforcement, I'm willing to look at that, but I would like to see a plan on how we get more enforcements, because I want to see more enforcement. I want tobacco products out of the hands of our children. I want e-cigarettes out of the hands of our children, and quite frankly, I also want to see something that comes forward in Alameda County that raises the limit of somebody who can purchase cigarettes to 21 in Alameda County. So I'm willing to do all three of those things, and then I also want to see the separate ordinances that deal with vaping and also deal with tobacco products. So I want to see those two ordinances too. So I'm willing to hold off until then. But if those five things aren't done, I'm falling back to my other position. Okay, are we clear?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, did somebody write those down? Those five things? They're on the record, right?
They're on the record, but
okay. Because I think I got them down, but I just want to make sure I have them all down. And I know with the enforcement, for instance, the Sheriff's Department gets $10,000 out of tobacco master settlement funding for enforcement now. It's just a matter of getting them additional resources from that fund to do more enforcement. But I can talk to the Sheriff's Department about that.
That's done now in terms of the comments you made in terms of how good it is. It's not related to e-cigarettes or electronic smoking devices.
what?
It's not related to electronic smoking devices. It's
The
related to
enforcement
tobacco.
by the Sheriff's Department?
Tobacco products.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm saying touting that we're doing very well and we're doing better than the state. We haven't touched that part yet.
Well, so let me ask this question. Can the Sheriff's Department start enforcing e-cigs now?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we couldn't. We could incorporate some enforcement into their current practices.
Because there's state law, right?
Pardon me?
There's state law.
For underage, yeah.
Yeah, so start doing it.
I think it'll be easier for the Sheriff's Department to enforce regulations related to e-cigarettes once we craft the the ordinance, because it's difficult to enforce e-cigarettes when we don't have an ordinance associated with
Then
that.
that one
So-
better start,
so let me
that
get
one
the
better
ordinance.
happen much quicker than the fall.
Let me get the ordinance.
That one better happen much quicker than the fall.
And if you recall, President Haggerty, you referred that to the Health Committee, but I can work on something and try to get it to the Health Committee.
That's fine. Okay. All right, is there any objection to the, I'm sorry, Supervisor Chan.
Yeah, just briefly, obviously, we don't agree on this, so that's fine. But I did want to just go on the record and say that even in the unincorporated area, there wasn't agreement on this because the San Lorenzo Village Homes Association supported this by 4-1 vote, as well as the other ordinance. So it wasn't as if there was unanimity in terms of the unincorporated area. And I just also wanted to mention yesterday in the Health Committee, this kind of speaks to the issue of the taxes that Mr. Swanson's been talking about. For our county, we did a really great job with the tobacco settlement funds. We allocated all to healthcare, and we fund school health clinics, school-based behavioral health care, expanded health care for IHSS workers, mental health for children, tobacco control, public health, and health enrollment. Out of that, other areas maybe didn't do so well, but we did a good job, and I happen to be in favor of taxing e-cigarettes. I mean, that's my opinion because as I said last time, 70% of the market now is controlled by the same people who make cigarettes, and I would love them to, to be taxed.
Okay.
So Supervisor Miley said in terms of it making us an enforcement, in reality, we're administrators of that. It's still enforced by the Sheriff's Office. So it's not odd in terms of something different that we're doing already.
Okay. All right. Duly noted. All right. So is there any objection to the motion before us? Motion passes 5 ayes.